Welcome back, crew, to another getting ready for the new year Grand Slam. Welcome to the Techo Kaigi of 2024 for Korean's Hearth. This is the second time I've had to film this because the first time I did not realize that the angle was bad. So here's hoping I remember everything I said in the first video. Let's talk about the journals, the notebooks, the notebook ideas that didn't work out first. You will note that there is no little itty bitty research and development crochet notebook. Having a separate notebook for that did not work out too well for me. I just kept forgetting to use it. So it got put away into the giant bin of notebooks, and a part of that is just because if I'm working on something, I have stuff set up in my everyday bullet journal so that I can keep track of the order / piece that I'm working on, and it just ends up working out way better that way than trying to have a separate notebook. Another notebook that ended up not working out for me this year was a garden journal. This particular year, because of El Nino, my part of Arizona was warmer than normal this summer. And a lot of my plants just did not do good. Once the summer temperatures broke, they took off, but then on October 30th, we had a freeze. So October 29th, I had to harvest everything that could be harvested. This next year, we're just going to buy plants from the nursery while I work on actually getting enough soil amendment done and in-ground beds done. This proves to be its own challenge given that here in the Sonoran Desert, the ground is known as nature's concrete. And it sets up like a rock. So you have to do a lot to the soil so that it doesn't make it impossible for your plants to grow. So this particular notebook, this particular idea, tried it for 2 years, didn't exactly work out. Because almost everything that I was keeping track of, I found I was keeping track of in the house diary or my everyday bullet journal. So this one, yeah, it's off the docket. So I'm going to decide what I'm going to turn that particular journal into. Now this little itty bitty pocket size, this is the Our Turn Olive A6 from one of their sub boxes from their first year of doing them. I use this to keep patterns that I do frequently in. Things like my granny square shawls, my pineapple shawls, just hats, things like that. Patterns that I find myself coming back to time and time again. There might be an orange and white giant cat. That would be Izzy jumping up here in a few seconds. Please don't. You've already been a butt today, quite a few times over. And I'm really over you right now. So this little notebook you see in the background pretty frequently. Now let's talk about the next section of notebooks that I use. And they are more quarterly / I get into them when I need to get into them. They are not once a month, a couple times a month, everyday journals. So the first one we're going to talk about is, come here, this one. This is the homestead / house projects notebook. This is where I keep track of everything that needs to be done on the house. Everything from making sure that all of the bushes are trimmed by spring, to keeping track of vehicle repairs, to upgrades we would like to do on, the workshop, on just everything. adding a cistern, making sure that the fence gets repaired and things like that. So this particular one I don't get into very often, but when we have years, unlike this year of 2023, I'll dig into this at the beginning of just about every quarter and pull out a project that's one that I can then put into my everyday bullet journal and build an action plan around it. Because a lot of these projects that go into this notebook are the ones that take several days, several weeks, etc. That goes there. This one, which was from the Archer and Olive Valentine's Day box last year, which is the main reason why I'm okay with this color of pink, because it's not like an atrocious color of pink. It's a vintage kind of dusky pink, and I love it. This is my long-terms collections journal. This is where I keep things like A5 calendar layouts, my bucket list, which I have no idea if I'll ever do anything on it, because let me tell you something, I absolutely love my homestead and I'm surrounded by mountain views on all sides, so I don't really like to leave the homestead unless it's absolutely necessary. In the long-term collections journal, I have my 2023 challenges to myself. Some of those became all-year challenges. We've got my swatch pages. And part of what goes into my long-term collections notebook has been mental health breakthroughs. Processing stuff from my past breakthroughs. And putting them into the long-term collection journal was because of one of two reasons. I'm going to be in this particular long-term collections journal for probably a good 2 or 3 years. So if I need a reminder of all of my mental health victories, I can go back and find them extremely quickly, instead of digging through old bullet journals and journals. The other reason for it is because when I need to remind myself as to what those victories are, and it might be like 2 or 3 days later and I've forgotten, I can immediately dig into it and know. I've got a birthday spread. It's very slowly getting full. I have a couple of stationery hauls in here. This particular journal, I'll probably set up a very small cover page for. I'm not really going to be keeping stationery hauls samples anymore in my long-term collection journal. That one I did because I just really liked the Agenda 52 sticker packs that I had picked up and the geometric washi tape that I picked up. I get into that one infrequently, but frequently enough that I look at everything. And I've also got a list in there of when friends and family come to visit the homestead. I have 40 plus places within an hour of where I live that we can go be tourists at, including Tombstone, Arizona. So the next one that we're going to look at is a traveler-sized notebook. You guys will recognize the iconic cranes at this point. I'm not saying that it's going to become a trend that all of the Homestead Direct, all of the Cranes Hearth Homestead Direct notebooks are going to have cranes on the cover, but that's kind of become the trend. It wasn't on purpose, I promise. But last year, around December 2021 and January, February, December of 2022, I was working in a traveler-sized notebook and I ended up not liking it as an everyday bullet journal. So I turned it into a quarterly note. This one is a quarterly notebook for the homestead. We do standard 4-quarter, but my quarters are not set up like certain other entities are. Their first quarter is October, November, December in some places. And then there's others that are their first quarters are July, August, September. It makes no damn sense to me. For me, for the purposes of keeping financial stuff and keeping track of trends, my quarters are the normal January to December. So I've got 3 months each. And on the pages, I have each quarter, I have each month in the quarter, and I have the total income that has come in on that page. And then at the end of each quarter, I have a breakdown of utilities, shopping, groceries, maintenance, etc. And then, double check something here. Things like auto and transport, other, I've got, now in this particular quarterly notebook, I've got an end of year review. I have a spending review, I have extra income totals, and then I have my husband's business. I'm not going to show you guys that. I flipped through this because, like I said, this is financial information, and people's finances is no one else's business except for the person taking care of said finances. So one of the setups for getting ready for 2024 is going to be this quarterly notebook setup. And I'm going to be taking you guys along for how I break down each quarter and how I break down the end of year review. And hopefully that'll give those of you who have a traveler's notebook and you're struggling with how to use it, hopefully that gives you an idea. I highly recommend trying out a quarterly notebook, especially if you are a homesteader or you've got a decent amount of property like I do, that you're hoping to make sure that you've got like a sufficient garden, healthy chickens, maybe some kuni pigs someday. You guys will have to forgive me a little bit. I've got windows open. There's some allergies in the air. And my throat has been a little bit on the grumpy side, so. But I'm hoping that the quarterly review, because this is going to hold probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years worth of information. My goal, my hope, is to be able to start picking up on the trends of which quarters tend to be the lower income and which trends where the income is higher, so that I can start planning and making sure that some of the big purchases that we need to make for the homestead, like a tractor and a side-by-side or a four-wheeler with a wagon, we make in a time of the year where it's incredibly easy to put a big down payment on. That way we can carry through the quarters of lean without having to worry about being late on a payment. If there's one thing that I think a lot of homesteaders will tell you, is that sometimes you have no choice but to be in debt, but you better know what you're doing before you get into it. That way you can get out of it. Now, we'll set that to the side for the moment. Like I said, cranes on the notebook, covers. I wasn't trying to do that, but it's how it ended up. This next stack is the a few times a month, once a month. I definitely get into it pretty frequently. Notebooks, including this little guy right here. This is a B6 size, and this is the annual notebook. And I can open it to an empty spot. So in the annual notebook, I've got it set up with a future log in the front, or ready to be set up as a future log in the front. This is where I keep track of things like which day is payday, which month we need to renew some of my husband's licensing for his business, car registrations, etc., etc. I also keep track of things like astronomy events. Here where I live in the high Sonoran Desert, we are so dark sky that even on a full moon, there are, depending on where you're standing in relation to the moon, you can see the dust of the Milky Way. So meteor showers on a new moon, I keep track of, because they are probably my favorite thing out here. It is just, I can't tell you guys how many times we've been sitting down at the south end and we've seen SkyTrain. I've lost count of the number of times we've seen SkyTrain. It is so amazing. And then also in my annual notebook, and I'm going to hit this point kind of hard for all my ladies, I've got my period tracker. And yes, I keep track of intimacy between my husband and I on it, but that's because he and I are trying to have kids. So, yeah. But I'm actually, we've discovered that I'm actually premenopausal. As of this past summer, I've started to creep into that and keeping track of my period as I'm getting older. Because I turned 38 this past summer, guys. Some of the most popular bullet journalers on YouTube turned 26, 30, 29. I think one of them turned 24. And the only thing going through my head was, oh, you're so cute. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's one of those, oh, you think it's a big deal turning 30. Oh, just wait until you hit 40, sweetie. Just wait until you hit 40. Because I'm about to. And with my mental health beasties past, it's pretty amazing, honestly. I never expected to live past 30. And I'm pretty certain if I hadn't discovered bullet journaling, I wouldn't be here on the homestead. And I probably wouldn't have still been here because I wouldn't have broken out of the PTSD spiral I was in. So, but anyways, stay on target. When it comes to the period tracker, as I'm getting older, my periods will start becoming more and more infrequent, and keeping track of that will let me know when I should probably schedule some medical stuff, diet changes, so I can slowly work my way into it, because you're officially considered in full menopause when you go a full year without a period. And keeping track of that is going to be a very crucial component of my personal health. And unfortunately, I do believe that there are a lot of young women out there who find themselves going back to look at their yearly spreads, and the only one they actually used was for the period. So as a suggestion for those of you who are looking for ideas on what to do with your B6s, turn them into a period tracker. Turn them into a personal health tracker. I've got 3 years of homestead budgeting stuff that I know I'm going to be able to fit in here, along with 3 years worth of periods. So that's going to give me 3-year window of information to look at once this notebook is full. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I've got another B6 that I bought recently, not too long ago, around the same time I bought the Blackout notebook, that I have set aside for the 3 years after this. At the end of the B6, which I will be setting up, well, actually, let's talk about the months real quick. This is going to be one of the ones I set up with you guys. It'll be here in the Get Ready for 2024 thing. But on the month, I'll be writing down the date of paychecks. I'll be writing down which bill comes out of each paycheck. And then things like savings and whatnot will be on this side. I'll set up one of the months with you guys in that particular video, but it will just become tedious after that. So there's a very good chance I'll only show you the 1 month that's in it. And on the last couple of pages, I actually have a place for trackers for the power bill and the gas bill. And my main reason for doing that is so that in the months where we've got a really high power bill, the next year I can look at it and investigate ways to bring that bill down. When you're on a homestead, every penny counts. Now for the big boy. This is the house diary. Repeating a statement about the cranes on the cover. Oh boy. Now, I wanted to show you guys real quick. I set up these project pages. As you can see, I did not get around to using them. For those of you who really pay attention to the stationery stuff, or you're new to my channel, in March of 2023, my husband got into a pretty bad wreck on his motorcycle. It could have been worse. He could have been dead. But he had full safety gear on, which we do firmly believe helped lessen his injuries to a great extent. However, he still cracked something in his spine, broke a few ribs, broke his sternum, and in general laid himself up for a good month to a month and a half. It also meant that he was not able to work full-time for a while. Because of this, because of the summer being hotter, I was not able to do as much as I wanted to do. And my main focus was inside the house, keeping the house functioning, keeping animals from going nuts, and keeping myself and him functioning. So homestead projects like fixing up the chicken coop, getting the raised bed fixed up, they were not priorities. Were these pages a waste? No. I've got the template now that I can use at the end of 2024, once I get that set up in this notebook. I'll be taking you guys along for that. But now I've got it. So when I do go to do one of these big projects, I can use this as my base map for setting up what I need to do in my everyday bullet journal. And it will be fantastic. Cannot wait. But, so I'll take you guys along for setting up one of the months in the journal. But normally our months look like this. Very simple. It's just the month. We keep track of what the weather was doing. We keep track of the temperatures. And this is just about it. And as you can see, there's no frills in here. The only thing that probably counts as a frill is a printed calendar. I've got that already done. So that'll get set up in here. And then this I'll probably turn into a notable page or a highlight from every month page, because it's very much, I only need 2 pages per month, because many of the things that I record, let's use October as an example. Some of the things that I record are when my husband gets into a minor wreck, like he did in early October, which has left us need a new car. I will record in the house diary us getting the new car, what its make, model, VIN number, and mileage was, and how much we paid for it. That'll get recorded in the house diary. How many jars of pear butter did I get off the pear tree? That gets recorded in here, which was 29, by the way. I was delighted. And yes, you can use pear butter to make a pear cheesecake, and it is fantastic. I keep track of things like, oh, we should probably not have we should probably not have the trash cans right here next to the back porch because it leaves a warm spot for rattlesnakes. Or, that sounded like a rattlesnake that found its way underneath of the house. Welcome to living in the desert. Keeping track of rainfall amounts, keeping track of when Dave went for his elk hunt, which unfortunately we didn't get one. I was looking forward to plugging in the second freezer, I'm not going to lie. Things like that. That's what goes into the house diary. So if you're looking for a way to use a notebook, maybe think about doing that. Even if you live in a not so rural area as myself, say you live in a suburb or something, and you still want to keep track of things, you keep track of weather, when you had to start mowing the lawn, when you could stop, when the leaves fell, new neighbors that you noticed, old neighbors, friends that came over and visited. I write down all of my guests. Incidences where the cops had to be called. Just keeping track of stuff like that. Because it makes for an interesting look into your past. And as you can see, I've got 3 years marked here. I fully expect to fit 10 years, if not 9, in this B5. So it's a little bit like a 5-year journal, except I'm keeping track of a little bit more than you would normally do in a 5-year journal. So there's an idea for your B5s. You come over here. One second. I forgot to clear a spot for the journals. I need to sit over here. This is my reading journal. It is set up very much with the inspiration of Hera over at Mochi Bujo. She doesn't do trackers in her reading journal anymore. She does a cover page, and then she puts in the books that she reads. And that's it. And if she doesn't feel like reading a lot, then she doesn't. And that finally sunk in for me this year. I was like, I would like to have a reading journal because the way that I tend to read is very different from a lot of people. So we can look through some of my pages here real quick. But I have a tendency of when I'm reading to write down quotes and write down reflections. And, my reading journal spreads can sometimes take up to 5 to 6 pages. So I only ever set up a cover page and a books that I finished page. Now we will be setting up just a quickie calendar / separation between 2023 and 2024, along with the January cover page and books that I managed to read page. This is going to be one of the setup videos that you can look forward to in this playlist of getting ready for 2024. And I might leave myself a page, 2 or 3 pages, where I can print off a scan of the cover of the books that I read and put them in. But I don't know yet. But this is probably one of the most low-pressure reading journals that you might find on the internet anywhere. Might be. There's probably others, but here's this one. Now this particular 192-page chunk, this is my magical notebook. This is a notebook that you will see in the background a lot, but I don't share what's in it, just because I'm a pagan practitioner, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. But if you'd like a look at the notebook I'm going to be moving into after this one, once this one's empty, that's in a chit chat, I do believe. But I've got still several pages in here, and I probably won't be moved out of this notebook until next year, as it is. This is just where it's like a magical workbook almost. This is where I break down when I need to do a protection working on our youngest cat, because Izzy Cat, the orange and white cat, is being an absolute butt to her and won't leave her alone. I'll break down things like that in here. And this is where I will record updates by using the concept known as threading, which I do believe is talked about by Writer Carol somewhere on the Bullet Journal YouTube channel. If not, I know Jessie Curran has talked about it. But this one, not in it every day. Do you like my floating shelves? I got these in and they were freaking perfect. Now, we are going to talk about the notebooks that I'm going to be in every day now. And those are the everyday bullet journals. So we've got January in this blackout notebook. I am not one of those people who can just leave a month's worth of blank pages in a notebook just because it's the new year. I can't do it. I tend to be a little too practical for that, and it feels a little too wasteful for me. And being a homesteader where I have to keep an eye on where pennies go, I got to get every penny out of my notebooks. So January is going to be in this blackout notebook. And from there, from this one, we're moving into an 8x8. I've had this notebook picked out since March. For those of you wondering about that, because this is your first time here, one of the ways that I was dealing with my anxiety about my husband being so badly injured was I set up the rest of 2023 in my notebooks and sketched out in designated notebooks clear through, I do believe, March of 2026. Because that is what I needed to get my anxiety under control. And that was pretty important, getting that under control. So I've not regretted only filling in my spreads with what I need at the beginning of each month, because it has taken a load of weight off of my shoulders. I think I mentioned earlier in the video, Dave had another minor accident. That car won't start, the windshield's busted. I actually fell earlier just a few days ago. It's mostly healed up by now, but when I fell, I hyperextended my arm, and I'm right hand dominant. So I've been having to take things very, very slowly, and this arm has been healing slowly, but so having things done because of just how chaotic this year has been a good thing. So if you are someone who likes setting up their year in advance, don't feel bad about it. Because I'm betting several times a year you go to pick up your bullet journal and you're like, I am so glad I did this already. Just done. So I actually long form journaled in the 8x8 that came in the 2022 Christmas box, the Cozy Cafe box. I loved it. I loved journaling in that size. I loved writing in that notebook so much. It was an absolute pleasure. So I'm looking forward to seeing how an 8x8 does for me as a everyday bujo. February is mostly set up. It's just going to need filled in. That being said, there is let me fill you guys real quick. I do have a future log in here. It goes all the way through to December. That's on this. This is going to get filled in with astronomy events and reminders, because this notebook is going from February to September. And yeah, I've got that set up. But yeah, so you can see it's mostly set up. I just have to fill it in. And yeah, I've already got this done. Now in the latter part, it's not really set up all that much. I do have calendars done. But March, we go into blank pages and we go back into setups, because that is where I forced myself to stop. There is no telling what the rest of November and December and January and February are going to hold, so it might be entirely possible that you guys might get an early March setup video. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to working in this size, just because it's going to be something different. And just something about the 8x8. It's just so satisfying. And then from there, we're moving into the B6 from the fall collection of 2022 Archer and Olive. This has been one of my favorite notebooks to date ever that I've seen in the Archer and Olive collections. I am using this for October, November, and December. 3 months in a B6. And this little one I'm looking forward to working in, because if October, November, and December trends hold from last year, I'm going to need my bullet journal to be extremely portable. And a B6 is very portable. Very portable. I'm thinking about actually crocheting it a cover and putting a snap on it and putting a strap on it so that I can carry it around. Kind of like like its own tote bag. So there's that one. Now, another type of notebook that I am going to be in frequent almost every single day probably is going to probably be the long form journals. Now, this year I was doing a 30-day challenge of journaling every day for 30 days. It turned into all year. And when I tell you guys that 2023 has been very chaotic, that's the month of October in this notebook. It's the beginning of November right there. This will be the 7th journal that I will have filled this year. So, I'm not going to be showing you guys the journals that I'm going to be long form journaling in for next year, because I will probably go through 4 or 5 of them. And I might change my mind about which one I'm moving into next. So, yeah. I think that's just about it. I think so, yeah. Let me think for a moment. Yeah, that's just about it. So for other setups that you can be looking forward to as we get ready for 2024, we'll be filling in January in this notebook, setting up the house diary. We'll have the annual, the quarterly, we'll set up in the reading, and we might do a small projects and my long-term collection journal in the same video. We might do something in that. I haven't decided yet. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. 6 videos for setting up in 2024 coming out. I'm also going to be having a very small stationery haul from Journal Say coming up here in the next couple of weeks. I've been seeing them pop up, making the rounds in the stationery world, so I figured, hey, let's give them a chance. I got about 10 things from them, so we'll be looking and checking those out. I spent about $17. We'll see if the quality is decent. Also, to let you guys know, December 19th to January 3rd, there will be the occasional community post. There will be a few short form things, but long form content on Evelyn at Crane's Hearth will be putting it on hold. It will be on vacation, hiatus, break, whatever word you want to use, because me and my husband are going to enjoy our Yule/Christmas season in peace. Because I don't know about you guys in your year, but I know that me and the folks who call Crane's Hearth their own, like my husband, we're ready for a break. So you will most likely not see anything from me until about January 5th. And that will most likely be a reading journal January video. Maybe. We'll see. I might decide to give myself a break and set up the January pages in the setup of the reading journal for the year, for the yearly spreads. But that's just about it, you guys. Yeah, that is just about it. Because I'm sitting here trying to think. It's like, did I forget something? No, I didn't. Okay, we're good. It's been a long year, okay? It's been a very long year. And I think that's showing through in this video. Oh. All right, you guys. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. Hug your loved ones tight. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which I have not decided as to what it's going to be yet, because I will probably set up 2 or 3 of these on a day if my lighting's working out, and we'll just go from there. So, bye for now.